You have your fear, which might become reality. And you have Godzilla, which is reality.
I'm sick of Godzilla.
Wake up, everyone!
There are two things you don't know about the Earth. One is me, and the other is Godzilla.
We're safe now. No human being can understand that. The monsters on Monster Island can understand it.
Whether he returns or not, or is never again seen by human eyes, the things he has taught us remain.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to... I don't even know what to call this. I'm stumbling over my words already. This is Yes Have Some Podcast, obviously, but this is also going to be the debut soft launch pilot of our brand new spin-off show, which we're about to talk about in full details. But let's go ahead and introduce who we are.
Before we whisk you away.
Yes, before we take you. My name is Craig Goldberg. Of course, I'm here with Abigail Gardner.
Hey, y'all, what's up?
Jacob Walsh.
Hi.
Hello. How are you?
I'm fine.
We just recorded our Snyder Cut roundtable with John Yerkeba and Ryan Dole, but we're not here to talk about that. We are here to talk about the new show.
I'm actually mad that the words Snyder Cut are in the first episode of my new show.
Right, exactly.
We're here to get away from the Snyder Cut.
Right. So what we're going to do is, Jake, I'm going to throw it to you. You can introduce what this is and who's with us. But just go for it, man.
Listen, this is the first episode of YHS on Monster Island. And it's just a place for us to talk openly and to discuss Godzilla and Godzilla's buddies and his friends and other kaiju movies and maybe even other monster movies that don't traditionally fit into the kaiju, whatever. It's whatever I want it to be. And with me, who will be with me every week from here on out, or every episode, however many times we do it, is J-Key.
J-Key, welcome.
Thank you, sir. And
Wait,
I feel very
effects.
honored. Thank you.
There you go.
I feel honored because Jake. Good. I feel honored because Jake started off with listen, and I felt like it was Craig hosting, so he's already in the driver's seat, rocking and rolling.
Yeah, I love that.
Well, I didn't know if Craig was gonna make me do the whole like, "Hello, everybody, and welcome to." And I've been practicing it because I'm like, I don't know how to do that. Like,
no, you are.
I just listen
fine.
to Craig do it.
Well,
You've been doing it the whole time.
Yeah, it's fine. So listen, we're going to talk to Jay now. So Jay, we've known you for a couple years, but this is going to be your first foray into the YHS world in an official capacity. So, man, tell us who you are and why you're here. I need to know. I need to figure this out.
I think the Cliff Notes version. I mean, as a fourth member, it's like I'm going to try to be Ryan Dole without the raunchiness, maybe, or John Yerkeba without the long, heartfelt diatribes, maybe. Like I'm somewhere there.
Okay.
I'm trying to find my pocket, which I know you guys just spent a long time talking about pockets in the last live stream you did. Yeah. So I'll try to stay away from that. So somewhere around there. But yes, I'm so super honored. I mean, you guys are amazing, huge fan. And Jake and I over the last couple of years have been talking a lot of kaiju on the side, and I think that just made sense. So for those out there that have never met me or talked to me, based here in beautiful Dallas, Texas, the nurturing bosom of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. I do a little riding on the side, the adventures of Duke LaGrange, do a little podcasting on the side with the Wrestling Life Support podcast, but none of that matters now. All of that pales in comparison to talking kaiju with the tattooed titan of Tokusatsu, my good friend Jacob Walsh. So I'm just honored to be here.
Listen. I want to say something about J.K. real quick. I've been watching Godzilla movies since I was probably 4 or 5 years old, and I do consider myself an expert, and I watch them a lot and often, and all of them, whatever I can. But then I met J.K., and J.K. sort of makes me embarrassed of myself because, J.K., you are an encyclopedia. And sometimes you say things, and I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? And I love it.
I like that you're also calling him by his full name. You're only J.
It's a nice name. J. Key is a nice name.
It makes sense. It flows. I like that.
Yeah.
It happens when you only have 6 letters in your whole name. It's not a big deal. But thank you, Jake. I don't think it's quite accurate. I just, I know what I know, and there's a lot of stuff I don't know. And then also, I strategically try to remember the things that make me sound smart. So, I might not
that's the secret. Edit that part out. Edit that part out.
Right.
So just if you remember a lot of the actors' names, I think you come across as being more intelligent or knowledgeable on kaiju than just like, oh yeah, that's Godzilla. It's like, yeah, everybody knows that. So
right.
That's me.
Yeah, exactly.
That's Abby.
Yes.
So this show is primarily going to be the two of you. Clearly, there might be times where I'm there. There might be times when Abby's there. Might be all 4 of us. Might just be Jay one week. Might be just Jake one week. Well, we'll see. It's going to be crazy, but it's primarily going to be you two. Abby, how do you feel about this spinoff?
I feel like there's a missed opportunity by not calling this podcast Kaiju on the Side. Because I really liked that name. Just Kaiju on the Side.
We're changing the name already.
No, I like YHS on Monster Island, but
Side.
Kaiju on the Side is really cool. I think that's kind of like it encapsulates what this is.
Well, maybe you could have a segment called Kaiju on the Side. I don't know what
Yeah.
it's going to be.
Sure.
Like, Jake and Jay, that was like what y'all bonded over, and it's like it's something that you have a sidebar conversation, the two of you, about all the time. So it was just sort of natural for us.
I don't like it. I'm mad about this.
I'm personally jealous.
I'm gonna be honest. My whole focus for doing the show is just because I want to get drawn into the new Godzilla comics, and I thought this would be the way to get that done.
That's good.
Okay.
It's a good goal.
Right. All right. Well, I don't get it.
Well, what's his name that used to draw all the Ghostbuster comics?
Dan Schoening.
Dan Schoening is now drawing for
the Godzilla comics.
He's doing art for Godzilla, and his big thing with the Ghostbuster comics was he's always putting Ghostbusters fans into the comic as Easter eggs. He would just draw the community in, and I was like, oh boy. I want to be in a Godzilla comic, and now that he's doing that, I better do something Godzilla related.
You want to leave your footprint,
yes.
your big mark.
Well, once you guys get
I just want to be in a Godzilla comic.
Once we get like 4 episodes in with you guys, then you send
Please,
Dan a
Dan
message.
put me in there.
And you say,
what will happen is he'll put Craig and Abby in. And I'll
probably.
get left out.
Yeah. Oh, look, it's the Yes Halves of
Real
Godzilla people. So let's. I mean, I kind of feel like I'm interviewing the two of you. This is very fun for me.
Sure.
I like that I don't have to be a part of this. That's my new motto.
We also like that, Craig.
We're launching a lot of podcasts. Yeah. I mean, this is where like
it's too much, honestly.
I'm just taking notes for when I do mine. It's nice.
But I kind of want to backtrack a little bit. It's kind of fun to get personal histories. And later on, I'm going to break the news to both Jay and Jake that I woke up this morning and had the wild idea that I needed to start collecting Dino Riders as well. And
oh my God.
No purchases yet, but we'll see what happens. By the way, they're not I thought there'd be tons on eBay. It's actually not as plentiful as I thought, but we'll get to that later. So Jake, we kind of, I think we kind of mutually came to this being a good idea, but what about, this genre, like to maybe we have a YHS listener who's, primarily a Ghostbusters fan, primarily a Star Wars person. They're not that into Godzilla. Maybe they've seen some of the movies, but what about kaiju and monster films? Like specifically, why did you gravitate towards it as a kid, and what's making you want to like do this as kind of like its own thing?
Well, that's two different answers there. The thing that made me gravitate toward it is just that I thought Godzilla looked cool. I was a kid. Like I literally grew up watching Godzilla movies, and my grandfather would tape them for me. Or back when the Sci-Fi Channel, showed movies, there would be Godzilla marathons, and anytime I was like visiting my grandparents, they would just sit me in front of it. It was just Godzilla was always on. TBS would have, marathons, and I just, from the moment I was able to sit in front of a TV, that's what I watched. And they're so fun to me. Like all the Godzilla movies, the fact that there at this point is like 36 of them, and there's different versions of every character, and you got like serious ones, silly ones, like emotional ones, and just that's such a cool concept to me. And I just like watching monsters fight. I've always been like a dinosaur fan, so any movie that's dinosaurs or creatures. That's just my favorite stuff. And the reason that I thought it was a good idea to start a whole show is because, like, you know, on Yes Have Some, we talk about everything.
Cover a lot of ground.
We cover a lot of ground and we talk about everything, but there are a lot of times that I want to talk about Godzilla stuff, and you two don't fucking know a single thing about Godzilla. So it's like, you know a little.
I'm learning.
But hold on, you know a little in the last 3 months.
Yeah,
I'm not gatekeeping. I'm just saying we've been doing Yes Have Some for 5 years,
right?
And in those 5 years, we have had discussions about Godzilla, but they're very one-sided discussions. So we met Jakey and. You know, it just all sort of fit into place. And I think it's kind of a fun concept to have a show where there's two people who know a lot about Godzilla and then two people who your Godzilla fandom is kind of just started. You guys are just, you know, you'd seen some stuff, but
I can't even say that I've started.
In the last few months, you know, Abby's been getting into it and watching and checking out some of the books and stuff. And I feel like that's just a fun dynamic.
It's a different perspective for sure.
Yeah.
Jay, kind of, man, same question. And I think over time, people are going to learn, you know, this is kind of the high level. People are going to learn more about, you know, you guys. And I think it'll be fun for YHS listeners too, because they're kind of like, they'll see a different side of Jake as well, because it's just like, it's like when we started Toy Anxiety, it's just like it's its own thing that's kind of separate from what we do at YHS. And it feels like there's enough there to warrant its own, you know, its own show. So Jay, kind of the same thing though. Like, when did you start gravitating towards it and why?
Well, you know, like Jake, I was a dinosaur kid, right? I was a paleo kid, and I mean, my parents joked that like my first word was Parasaurolophus, and it wasn't. It was Deinonychus, but that's a different thing. And so I love dinosaurs. And then kind of the other thing that I really loved, I loved like mythology, and I was drawn to a lot of the Ray Harryhausen movies. And then it just kind of all manifested. And then I believe I was probably like 6 or 7 years old, and it wasn't my grandfather, but it was a babysitter that was over, and she knew I liked dinosaurs. So, you know, she put it on, and I still remember like the first Godzilla movie I ever saw was Destroy All Monsters. And I mean, for those that know Destroy All Monsters, what a great one to start with, right? With this, you know, 10 monster melee. And so that's really kind of what started it, but why it, you know, I kept liking it throughout, you know, adulthood. I mean, I'm approaching 40 and I'm still watching, you know, men in rubber suits fight and loving it. It's really, I mean, to me, I think it's the spectacle, right? It's this gargantuan theater of the absurd. And it's just amazing and wonderful. And I don't know. I think it's so unique in the kind of the geek culture, pop culture, whatever term you want to use, in the fact that it can be silly and fun, and you don't have to take it too seriously. But then, you know, every now and then when you're not taking it too seriously, the genre finds a way to be like, oh, I never thought of it that way. Oh my gosh. So it always has those nice little surprises. And I think that's always fun on top of the creature design and just kind of the more general stuff that people love.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And Abby, I should probably ask you the same thing. Like, you're just, by the way, listen, I've seen Godzilla movies. Like, hello, 2014, Bryan Cranston, hello.
Well, we've seen that. Yes. But I wanted to say that the reason I started watching Godzilla movies, and my first time really watching them was with you. It was with Jakey and Jake and Craig. We were all at our house and we watched Godzilla vs. Megalon, which is fantastic. And then
no. Did we watch?
I thought that was the one that we watched. I was pretty sure that was.
Did we? I thought
we watched Revenge of Godzilla, maybe.
We watched two.
We watched both. Yeah. And we can, and that's a later episode we can talk about is Godzilla's Revenge of Godzilla movie. But what a great way to start with Godzilla versus Megalon. I mean, talk about theater of the absurd. I mean, it's one that
I didn't see it. I was editing.
There's something about Godzilla movies that I like, where it's like fun cotton candy and like with nerds and like Skittles, and rather than like a heavy meal that you have to work through. Again, but yeah, I like it.
And good doesn't have to be Citizen Kane, right? I mean, you talk about this is the food analogy. Snickers are good, but high fine dining, you know, molecular gastronomy at Grant Achatz Alinea in Chicago, it is not. And Megalon's like that, right? Where it's like you have to enjoy it for what it is, and it's fun and it's colorful and vibrant and everything's great. But if you start dissecting it as high art, then I think you're doing yourselves a disservice, because
you're
it takes away from
point.
it.
Yeah, we've been dealing with that a lot lately, as we talked about the Snyder Cut and everything going on over there. It's like, I think the perspective is so important. Like, Godzilla films, these movies are very much in a lane, right? They stay in this kind of, what it is, what it's supposed to be. And like, I remember when Godzilla versus, no, not Godzilla versus the last one, King of the Monsters came out, and there was people just being like, oh, it's just so it's just like, it's a Godzilla movie. Like, you have to understand, like, it might not be the best Godzilla movie, but maybe you shouldn't be comparing it to, like, No Country for Old Men. Maybe you should be. I don't know. I feel like I'm offending the Godzilla people now.
It depends.
Let me stop talking. Let me stop talking.
Yeah, I mean, my thing on that would be some, yes. I mean, there are lanes and they're in groupings and stuff, but
right.
I would take, the original Gojira. I would take Shin Godzilla. I would take some of those and say, that might be a more serious take. And then there's been experimental films. I mean, we think of Godzilla versus Hedorah, or Godzilla versus the Smog Monster, very, very unique and weird. And then some are just silly and zany. So I when you have 36 plus movies, you have a lot of room to kind of play in different arenas.
Right. I loved Shin Godzilla. We watched it recently. It was very cool. I was impressed.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I think that would, if I had to rank Godzilla movies, I think Shin would be like, that's in my top. I think Shin is right up. And I mean, and it's like what you were just saying, Jay, it's like the original Shin, a couple others like have these moments of very seriousness all throughout them. And Shin is one of them, but it's like, Godzilla versus Megalon, that's one of my Shin Godzilla and Godzilla versus Megalon are both, I would put those both in my top 5, and they're so fucking different. You know what I mean? They're both complete opposite films, and that is one of the best things about it.
Well, I'm excited. Like, I'm giddy, like, because like, to me, the opportunity for us to expand and do something that's like very genre specific is just cool. And like, I'm looking forward to learning from you guys, because like, I think as a novice in this world, I think it's intimidating. Like, where do you start? What's considered like, it's intimidating because there's like hardcore fans and like the very opinionated fans, and like, I don't want to start spouting off like, oh, this is my favorite Godzilla movie, and just have people like, come on, dude. Come on, like, but I don't know. I don't know anything about the Godzilla world. Let me throw it to both of you. Jake, what is the current state of like the Godzilla fandom? Is it like, I know the Star Wars fandom, I know the Ghostbusters fandom, and I kind of know like the professional wrestling fandom. So like,
yeah,
where are the fans these days? And by the way, in a little bit, I want to get to the fact that there's a new Godzilla movie coming out next week, and that's why we're starting now.
Yeah.
But
that's the short answer for why we're starting.
But yeah, but like, as somebody who knows the Ghostbusters fandom, compare it to the Godzilla fandom.
Oh, it's so, I kind of feel like I sit on the outskirts of the Godzilla community. Like, I know some people that are deep in there, and I follow some, and I'm in some groups, but it's like, it's all over I mean, just as much as like Ghostbusters is all over the place, Godzilla has been around since 1954. And it's like, there are every opinion you can find is out there. And some of them are wacko. You know what I mean? Like, but there are, because there are so many different versions of Godzilla, you get like, it's just impossible to say, this is how the Godzilla community is, because 36 films. And then you got like so many different continuities, series, there's the animes, there's the American versions. And it's just like, I feel like no two fans have the same opinions about the overall universe.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. And Craig, like, think about it, because you're a big Star Wars guy. Like, if somebody says, "Oh, the best Star Wars movie is The Last Jedi," then they're just messing with you, or there's screws loose or something, right?
I would agree.
There's not that prevailing opinion on any Godzilla film, with maybe the exception of like the American, 98 version. Like, factor that one out. But even that, a lot of people do like that. But and that's the cool thing. It's like, you can be like, I love only the Showa era. That's my jam. That's what I want to do. Or you could be like, I like, the Millennium series, a little bit better special effects. You can do you can like any part and say it's the best. And you're going to find probably a handful of people that agree with you, and then a handful that are going to say like, you're a moron. And that's kind of a blessing and a curse,
find your pocket within there and then like hang out with those people.
Pockets.
But it also, you know, like when we met, like you talked about how much you like Godzilla's Revenge, and like that is one of the movies that I feel like has always been considered to be like in the bottom of the list. And then we rewatched it with you, and that was the first time I had seen that one in a long time, because it's one that I have always kind of felt similar about. I've always been like, fuck that movie. But then when we watched it again, it's like when you get years and years in between the ones you don't like and you rewatch them, I'm like, oh, you know what? Like, this movie is for kids. Like, it is straight up for kids. And then you kind of look at it in a little bit of a different perspective, and I was like, hey, you know what? I would put this above maybe 5 other Godzilla movies. You know what I mean? It's like,
And I got to clarify, just so people don't turn the podcast off right now. Like, I like it more than most people. It's still in the bottom. Bottom spectrum.
Exactly.
But I usually just fight for it because I hate that it's considered a Godzilla movie, because, you know, it's set in the real world, and, you know, they view Godzilla through these dream sequences. Mm-hmm. It's like, you know, Clerks 2 isn't in the Lord of the Rings canon because they talk about Lord of the Rings. These kids just watch and like
it's a completely different thing.
Yeah.
But
that's cool though. I mean, I like that there's so much variety. No, I think it's really cool because like you can't really compare it to. I'm trying to think if there's anything you really can compare it to from a franchise standpoint that has gone through so many iterations, like you guys were saying, continuities, different eras. Maybe Star Trek, but it's so different than that. But I think that's the only thing that like comes to mind as far as like really popular.
With that many iterations or something like that. I think that's the thing that we're kind of circling around, is that the Godzilla universe and community seems to be much older and like just broader in general and have like more history and richness to it.
Yeah,
for sure. And I think like the continuity, the American ones that are happening right now, it's just like, that's proof of what we're talking about, because there was the 2014, which is very much a serious movie. Like you can compare that, you know, to the tone of like the original Godzilla, or close to, you know, it's not making fun. It's not very silly. It's just a straight up, but then immediately the sequel, Godzilla King of the Monsters, is all over the place, and it's silly, and it's got Mothra twins, and it's got like all of the like tropes that like me and Jay know from the entire series of Godzilla are in that movie, you know? So it's like already they're jumping tone, and now like Godzilla versus Kong looks, it looks
like Fast and the Furious insane. Tokyo Drift.
Exactly. So it's like,
yeah.
So one thing I wanted to ask, so if you are on the YouTube channel for Yes Have Some, you know, we've got our own playlist specifically for YHS on Monster Island. There's a couple Godzilla-related videos that we've had before that we've got on the playlist already that you can check out. Jay, you got your first YHS video up today. You did your toy room tour. And I kind of want to talk about the toys and collectibles world because you're both huge collectors, and I think that's going to be a through line of the show. Does Godzilla fandom go hand in hand with the merchandise? Or is it kind of, because I mean, I know hardcore Star Wars fans who don't buy Star Wars toys, right? And I know super diehard, you know, Ghostbusters fans or whatever, or you know, you can be a huge fan of the MCU or a comic book fan, but you don't buy the statues and the toys. But it's very much a big part of the Yes Have Some like world, like the collectability and the toys and the merchandising. So as far as Godzilla goes, I'll ask you both, like, does it go hand in hand, or is it two separate worlds?
I don't think it does. And the reason is because when I got into Godzilla, basically from the Imperial Godzilla they released in 1985 until Trendmasters, there were no Godzilla toys stateside. I mean, there may be some like flea market stuff. So I grew up where it's movies. Collectibles are something you do if you live in Japan or you have access to, you know, a guy in Japan that can get you the toys and such.
Wait, do we need to get a guy in Japan? That seems like something we need.
So I didn't really start collecting toys until probably the early 90s when, you know, I joined up with G-Fan, which was a magazine. And, you know, I would pick up the phone, call long distance to a guy that would bootleg toys, Bandai vinyls, and VHSs for the Heisei series, which we didn't get over here, at least post 85. And that's how I got the toys. So I got into it late. I think globally, yeah, they go somewhat hand in hand. But I think really, if you look at the US market for folks of a certain age, I never associated the two as more like a nice premium. It wasn't a requirement. But I don't want to speak to somebody that either grew up in Japan or that's 22 years old and has had more access to them. But for me, they don't. But they sure are fun. And talk about overwhelming. You think the Godzilla film franchise, like the collectibles and merchandise and toys, like you have to pick a line with a subline within a line and maybe an era of film and a specific monster to focus on. Otherwise, your brain's going to explode. It's overwhelming.
Well, I've already made my decision. I
collect them all.
No, well, I can't do that, or barely any of them. I mean, you guys have. I mean, Jake has
a book that has like a really good like collection.
Oh, that auction book. Yeah, it was great.
The auction book.
Final Conflict, yeah.
Jay, your toy room is extremely impressive, and I know that I would say, Jay, you have a lot of high-end stuff. You have a very focused Godzilla collection from what I'm seeing. Jake, this is not a dig at you because it's more like me. I would call your Godzilla collection massive yet unfocused. If you see Godzilla, you're buying it. Like that's that's your thing.
Well, for sure, because just like Jay said, when I was a kid, there were no Godzilla toys, you know, and it wasn't until, a lot of people want to talk shit about the Trendmasters Godzilla toys because some of them they're very Americanized and they look that, they changed a lot of the designs. But if it wasn't, I didn't know that the Heisei movies existed. I was a kid and I didn't know who Space Godzilla was. And then one day I went to Kmart and there were all these Trendmaster Godzilla toys. And I remember being like, this isn't what Mecha Godzilla looks like. Why? What is Mecha King Ghidorah? Who the fuck is Space Gods? I was like, none of this is real. And like, because the movies weren't showing on TV over here.
Right.
Yet. And from the time, I was able to start finding Godzilla toys in the store, I would just buy whatever I could. And then I started going to conventions, and I also started reading G-Fan, and I was like, whoa, there are thousands of it's not like over here where NECA gets the Godzilla license and they're the only ones who can make Godzilla toys.
Right.
There have been steadily 1 million companies making Godzilla toys since 1954, and there's just a ton of it. And I remember when I first started getting G-Fan, there would be ads in G-Fan for stores here in America that specialize in like kaiju. And I remember visiting my aunt in Massachusetts, and there was a Godzilla store like 2 hours away, and I was like, you have to take me to this fucking store. I spent like that was my first barge, and I was or something, I was probably like 12, and I bought a ton of just like my uncle was like, what the fuck is, like, he's just confused at what kind of store we were in. But that was always my thing. I would just buy any Godzilla toy I saw because I'm like, I don't know what these lines are. I'm just buying what's out there.
Yeah,
that's really cool. Well, before we go any further, I can't even get my words out. I am very excited about Super 7 getting the Godzilla license because I don't have any of the NECA Godzilla. And I'm a big fan of what Super 7 does with their Ultimates line. I'm currently collecting the Turtles Ultimates. They are impressive figures. And I've got a lot of the Masters of the Universe Ultimates they did. And I think I do want to collect some of this Godzilla stuff, but I need a logical starting point because the overwhelming thing that you guys are talking about, I go too hard too fast. Like if I were to buy, like I'm not a big Godzilla fan, but if I were to get like 1X plus Godzilla, my mind would be like, I need 10 of them. Like it's dangerous. So Super 7 Ultimates, that'll be coming. I'm sure you guys will be covering that as more information comes out about that. But let's talk about that for a second. I mean, Jake, you've got all these NECA Godzillas. Is it a little bit like bittersweet now that NECA lost the license? Even though Super 7's saying they're going to make all these monsters, not just Godzilla. Like,
yeah, I mean, well, that's what I'm looking forward to because I do think NECA did really well, but it is like, NECA was only doing Godzilla. And after, I don't know, 20 different Godzillas, including some that are just repaints or whatever, it's nice to let somebody else take a stab at it. And that's one of the things that it's like, that's one of the things I don't like about the American way of doing the toy. It's just like NECA is doing it now. I gotta fucking wait till NECA's done to get any kind of variety. So like I'm okay with Super 7, and I don't own any current like Super 7 stuff, but I've seen your Ninja Turtle Ultimates, and I know what kind of quality that they're looking into. And if they're gonna put out a fucking Biollante or a Gigan or a Megalon like that, then sign me the fuck up, dude.
Or a Titanosaurus, because he gets no love.
Fuck it.
Yeah.
I want all the weird, like, I want Jet Jaguar on everything.
Yeah. And Skeleturtle. You got to get Skeleturtle and Giant Condor, the two most requested.
Jay, those aren't happening. Those are not getting made.
No, I agree, Jay. On one thing on that, like I'm excited about Super 7. NECA, I thought did a great job. Affordable, accessible. For the most part, the stuff was pretty easy to find. I know there was a few little kind of the loot crate exclusives and things like that were a little tricky, but for the most part, it was easy to get and pretty fun to collect. But you're right, after so long, it's like I don't need another repainted Godzilla versus Biollante Godzilla. Like, I mean, there's just already like 12 of them. So I'm excited what Super 7 can do.
A couple more things, because I want to get to Abby and your current love of Godzilla, this new infatuation. But I want to talk focusing on collectibles for a few more minutes. Jay, Jake told the story this week on why he passed on the Godzilla 89 statue from Mondo. Did you dive in and pull the trigger on this guy?
No, and not to copy my good friend here, Jacob Walsh, but same reasons. I don't know about statues. For the price point, I can get something in a line I already collect. I could get an X Plus 30 centimeter Godzilla versus Biollante for the same, and I don't want to I don't need to chase another shiny object. So I'm not going to. It looks great. I know, Jake, you said your Pulgasari was done very well, so I'm sure it's crafted beautifully. But something it's one I'm going to have to pass on. And I'm sure like I said, I'm sure people will be happy with it, but just not for me at this time.
Okay.
Well, one of the other things that I did not talk about on the show, but another reason that I kind of passed on it is because, like the Pulgasari, so the Pulgasari they put out, I think 5 of them, 5 or 6, and they're all just different colorways, but it's the same sculpt. In the next few months, they're doing that with a Godzilla 84. So
it'll be a figure.
I want to buy
statue.
that, and it will be a figure. And if it's the same price, it's going to be $85. So it's like, I want that. Right. I've already seen what that looks like, and maybe the statue is my favorite Godzilla suit, but I'm just it's expensive and it's a statue, and I'd just rather do the figure.
We were
honestly, I think if I was surprised you passed because it was 89. Like, see, I don't have the same love of Godzilla versus Biollante. The design is awesome, but as far as the movie, if it would have been a Godzilla 68, I probably would have splurged and got it, because I'm not going to be able to afford an X Plus 68, at least in this lifetime.
You're gonna
Jake's gonna go buy it.
Now make me.
Jake, you cut out for a second. What were you saying?
Comedic.
I was just saying that you're gonna make me have to go buy this.
Yeah,
thing.
he's gonna have to put it. And then
that is the end result of most YHS endeavors.
Yeah, I mean, Jay, if you're not buying that thing by the end of this episode, then we didn't do our job.
Yeah, that's our goal.
So what about? So now we got Playmates putting out all the new stuff for Godzilla vs Kong. Jake and I were at the store the other day. We saw all the new stuff. Jake, what is your opinion? I know you buy all this stuff, but you don't really display it. Like, you bought all the Godzilla stuff for King of the Monsters. Are you planning on picking up all like, I know it's not the same, like the Playmates releases are not, you can't compare it to like a Bandai Godzilla figure, but it's still cool to see in the store.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to buy, I bought the first wave of the Godzilla vs Kong toys, and they're just in storage because like that stuff is cool and I really like that they're doing it, but I like to keep that stuff in the package. And to me, I don't have the space to display all of that stuff in package, but I'll buy it. That was my first time seeing it in person with you in the Walmart, and you were there. You saw how excited I got about just seeing those in person.
The magic of podcasting. I knew he would be excited.
Yeah, you knew I'd be excited. And they're even like, they're not the greatest quality. They're not the best sculpts. They're kind of dumb, but it's just the fact that I'm standing in a Walmart and there's these weird new Godzilla and King Kong toys. Right. I'm gonna buy it for sure.
Yeah. Jay, how about yourself? Do you pick that stuff up or you pass on it?
No, I picked it up. The first line. I haven't seen the second ones in store, but I mean, when I was redoing the room in here, I was just kind of putting them as that kind of like shelf shelf filler, excuse me. But they're in a Tupperware thing in a closet, and my 2.5-year-old daughter plays with them. She runs around thinking that she's Mothra, so I figured here's a King Kong and a Godzilla. Yeah, I mean, I'm got her about. She has about one half verse of Masara ya Masara Donge Kasukayan Indo done. Like, she's pretty good. Okay. But yeah, she's not. But seriously, though, she does run around saying she's Mothra. So I let her play with them. Yeah, I let her play with them. But that's really about it. I don't think I'll be showcasing them, but I'll buy them all, of course.
Right.
Yeah,
that's the part you can't really explain to non-collectors. The thing where you're like, "Well, I bought it, but I'm not going to decide. I need to know that I own it, but I don't need to look at it every day." It's like you can't explain that to people.
Also, for me though, Godzilla just feels like Godzilla is much more important to me than like X-Men or Star Wars or any of the other stuff. Like
Godzilla
is my number one, and it's been my first. And because it is always traditionally been like harder to get that stuff in the past, like it's just I'm gonna buy it all. Like I haven't been buying the what is it, the like Bandai stuff that you see that's all over, because that stuff's so weird and it's hit or miss. And I've bought a few of them, but like anything they make for the movies, everything from 2014, everything from King of the Monsters, I own all of it, and it's all in my closet. But I'm gonna I'm gonna buy every piece of it.
Abigail,
yo,
you've taken a turn towards the light side.
Yeah, I feel like I'm probably more like Jay's 2-year-old, like kind of running around thinking I'm Mothra, because that's kind of like my level of investment at this point. But I will say that for me, my history with kaiju and stuff, I watched Mystery Science Theater 3000, so I was familiar with like Gamera. But I know that that's not Toho. It's like DC versus Marvel, whatever.
Yeah, so, basically.
So it's like I kind of had a taste for those movies. I always enjoyed like the explosions and the costumes and like the color and music and like just the overall kind of weirdness of it. But I didn't know until recently, like when I went back and watched the original Godzilla, I was like, I had no idea that this movie had like dramatic chops and like heart, and like there's like kids seeing their parents dying in front of them. And I was completely blown away by the fact that it was like, it had like a really good like moral to it, and like it's environmentally conscious, and like there's just really good acting, and like for the time that it was made, it really resonated with me and blew me away as like, this is like a standout awesome movie. And then the question of like, where does it go from there to get to like Megalon is very interesting to me. So like, it's
almost immediate.
Yeah, I'm like, when does this happen? Like, how is this so like serious? Like, yeah. Oh, light, oh, peace, like all of that, then going to like the just really out there stuff.
I've been impressed though. You've put together with literally like, okay, a lot of the times when it comes to like collectible buying and stuff, like let's face it, I'm usually the one kind of like leading the charge between the two of us.
Yeah, but me, I have this like, I'm like, I see it, I think it's Godzilla, I'm gonna send Jake a picture of it.
Right, but you've put together this pretty impressive VHS collection.
The VHS collection
very quickly.
Yeah. It's very healthy. Yeah.
So what have you been checking out? What has been your favorite so far?
I really liked Godzilla vs. Megalon, obviously. I like Mecha Godzilla. I'm enjoying I watched Terror of Mecha Godzilla was the first one that I watched. Jake was upset that I watched
She watched them backwards.
Oh, she watched them backwards.
Another thing about me being like a 2-year-old is that I'm like,
but did you watch both? Did you watch both though?
Yes, I did.
And did you like, what did you, I'm always curious about those, the last two of the Showa era. It's very interesting to hear what people think of those two.
I mean, that's like, I felt like there was more like a sci-fi influence on that, like it being in kind of cheesy, silly. I enjoyed them. I like the music.
I like the music.
I
like
Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla has some of the best music.
Yeah,
in the early series,
exactly.
Sure.
Like,
I mean, I have to say the Mechagodzilla reveal. You know, you think he's like coming out to like be this dramatic, like Akira Ifukube type music, but it's not. It's just like funky. It's very 70s. Yeah. It's awesome. It's awesome. It's one of my favorite.
Speaking
now, Abby, I got a question. Oh, sorry, Greg.
No, go, Jay. You're good. You're good.
Yeah,
you're
do
good.
it.
So, Abby, have you? It's the world show. So Abby, have you seen the newer Mecha Godzilla? So the one from the Heisei era, which is Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla 2, and then the ones from the Millennium series. There were actually 2. I was curious to see your comparison on like. The Mechagodzilla is done very differently in all 3 of them. So I was just curious your thoughts.
Wow. I have to look at my phone to see which ones I've seen because I actually do have a list.
I don't think you have.
Well, the reason
Abby, because I know you've seen most. I know Abby's seen most of the older ones, and then when I was up there, we watched.
I've seen. You can go.
Well, do you?
No, go ahead.
List. What have you
got
seen?
a list, do it.
I've seen Godzilla 54, Son of Godzilla, Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster, Ghidorah vs. the Three-Headed. Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster, Mothra vs. Godzilla, Godzilla vs. Megalon, Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, Terror of Mechagodzilla, Godzilla vs. Biollante, Godzilla vs. Gigan, and Shin Godzilla.
Okay, and then
so
obviously
you dominated the Showa era.
All the American
Godzilla
movies.
versus. You've also seen Godzilla versus King Ghidorah from the Heisei era,
which I really liked. Had a Terminator
with the Dorats,
and Godzilla versus
so
King.
Cute guy.
You don't have Godzilla versus Kong on here.
Well, it's not. Oh, I guess we did.
It's not
the original.
You know what, y'all? I haven't updated this, so
everybody.
Let's do an update.
But you're doing
the
your
answer
list
to Jay's
wrong.
question is no. The answer to Jay's question is
the
no.
answer to Jay is no.
And the reason I was saying that, Abby, is like, as one thing about the Godzilla fandom, and I know Jake can attest to this, is, there's so many movies. You're not going to sit down. It's like, you're not going to sit down and watch the MCU in one weekend, right? You're not going to watch every Godzilla movie. So by the time you kind of cycle through them all, it's fun to like kind of see where they rank. So, and the reason I say that is if you'd asked me 4 years ago, Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla 2 from the Heisei era, which was the first kind of reintroduction of Mechagodzilla, would probably be in the bottom part of my list. It's now one of my favorite Godzilla movies. Like, I absolutely love it. And so it's just fun. And it would be 2 movies after Godzilla versus King Ghidorah, the time travel one that you watch. So in that continuity, but that's one of the cool things that doesn't get talked.
Time travel.
Yeah,
it's funny.
It doesn't get talked about enough. Is that you can change your opinions on Godzilla movies and they can be radically different. Godzilla's Revenge, Jake mentioned. Son of Godzilla is one for me that I hated growing up, but like I appreciate a lot of Son of Godzilla a lot more now than I did back then. And then some just suck, like Space Godzilla, but that's neither here nor there.
Right.
I'm so bummed. Listen, that's going to be a whole other episode, is us talking about Space Godzilla, because when I first started buying the Trendmaster toys, I picked up a comic book, and in the back of the comic book was an ad for Godzilla Wars. And at the time I didn't know what it was, but it turned out to be like the second run of the Trendmaster figures. But the photo for Godzilla Wars is a picture of Godzilla and Space Godzilla. And I was like, instantly, whatever this guy is my favorite. And I remember as soon as I saw the toys of him, I was like, I don't know what the fuck this movie's about, but Space Godzilla is now my favorite monster of all time. And he's got one of the coolest designs, and the whole story of his origin is one of the best concepts in any of the Godzilla movies. And that movie sucks. It's so weird.
That was the one that I was
weird.
intent on watching because I think the design's cool.
Well, we'll watch it. It does have some of the best designs, but it's just got like the clunkiest fucking like sequences are weird, and Mogera sucks
so bad. I mean, you have the Japanese mafia randomly in there for 30 seconds, and apparently it's an important plot point. It's and I know Jake and I will disagree on a lot of Godzilla stuff over time, but this is one I know for a fact that we are 100% in alignment with. Amazing design. I mean, I have an X Plus of Space Godzilla, one of my least favorite movies, but I'm buying the design because Space Godzilla is so badass.
He's so cool. And I also love, like, I know we're getting like kind of deep into things that aren't intro episode stuff, but like the fact that Space Godzilla's like origin is like he's possibly because of Biollante or possibly, and he's got the little and Biollante is 100% my favorite monster other than Godzilla. So it's like, it just feels like such a little Godzilla family. Godzilla, Biollante, and Space Godzilla, they're just like, they're a perfect little family, and I just want them to live in a house together.
I think it'll be fun for you guys because, like, whether or not people are diehard fans or new to this stuff, like, I think it'll be fun. Like, I don't want to tell you how to run your show, but like, I think it would be cool. Like, if you're gonna do like a movie specific episode, you let people know, a week or two ahead of time, almost like a book club. That way they can watch it out.
This is Craig's way of saying, hey, please let me know what movie you're going to talk about before so I can watch it, because I have no idea what you're talking about.
Guys, this is like when I try to watch Lord of the Rings. I've never gotten past the Shire because I just check out. I'm like, oh, look, he's got fireworks.
You're like Samwise. You've never been past that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great. I think that first of all, I think that this is
First
great.
of all,
no,
45 minutes in. First of all,
I like that you're getting into like the heavy stuff because that's like that's what the show will be, and I
We-
think people listening will get excited.
I'm
for
excited
that.
for you guys to have that deep dive. I
Yeah.
think it's going to be really, really awesome. And listen, you guys are going to have different. That's part of being a fan is, you've got differences of opinions, and you can fight to the death, and nobody will be right, and nobody will be wrong. It's just opinion. And when you've got 36 movies, and like Jake mentioned at the top, this kaiju is not exclusive to Godzilla. I mean, you guys, there's a whole wealth of stuff. You could do King Kong month if you wanted. I don't know what month it would be. Maybe we'll say July. It would be King Kong month. But yeah, so I'm just I'm pretty stoked about this. Now, before we wrap up, because we're getting there, this is supposed to be our intro. Where I feel like if we go any further, we're gonna dig into your actual episode content. But we've got Godzilla.
We already have.
Yeah. Godzilla versus everybody who does podcasts knows. By the way, Jay, I'm really glad that I did not wear that exact same hat for this because I almost did. Oh. Everybody's got the Channel 6 NECA Turtles hat, which is what a great set. But that's for another podcast. Part of being a podcaster is you basically repeat yourself every episode. Like the listeners go, oh, they say this every week. That's just what podcasting is. I want to talk about Godzilla versus Kong. This is kind of like, I'm sure you guys are going to be doing a full, YHS will have some sort of breakdown. You guys will have an in-depth, analysis, which I'm excited about. How are we feeling? I mean, the movie's out in, I think in Europe or Australia, and I know we're all trying to avoid spoilers and stuff like that, but, this might be the tail end of this American era of Godzilla. Whether or not they can keep going is still kind of like up in the air. But Jay, what's your excitement level right now?
I mean, I'm always going to be excited for a Godzilla movie, good, bad, or indifferent. I think I'm excited for that. I haven't been, and maybe it's just because it's too in the now. I haven't been as, I think, emotionally connected to the legendary MonsterVerse as I have maybe the past Godzilla continuities or eras. But I think that just has to do with, I feel like all the movies have been a little disjointed. And Kong Skull Island feels way different than Godzilla 2014, than King of the Monsters. And once again, I don't know what Godzilla versus Kong is going to be. I'm excited to see, I mean, it's Godzilla and Kong, arguably the two most iconic kaiju. I don't even think arguably the two most iconic kaiju in the history of media. So it has to be cool, right? So I'm excited. I'm optimistic. I have no expectations. If it's terrible, I will still love it, and I'll probably watch it 25 times. But it's not like, I don't know. I feel like I'm almost a bad Godzilla fan because I'm not like having trouble sleeping at night waiting for it. I just like, it's going to be good. It's going to be fun. It is what it is. And I just think that's more of a commentary on the legendary MonsterVerse than maybe specifically just this one film.
Okay. Fair enough. Jake, what is this going to be our first disagreement?
Well, I'm kind of nervous about it, and I'm super excited about it because it's one of those things that it's like been built up for, it feels like 10 years at this point. It's gotten pushed back so much. It was getting pushed back even before the pandemic happened. There was already some like issues with it, so it feels like we've been waiting just for way too long. And in that first trailer that popped up, like the fact that there are some movie tropes that I usually don't like that looks like they're at play here, where it's like, hey, Godzilla's a good guy, Kong is a good guy. All of a sudden, we have to make one a bad guy. So let's pick one. Godzilla's a bad guy now. And like, I'm sure there's a reason for that, and we're gonna see. But like, it makes me nervous, but also it feels really good to see like legendary Godzilla killing people. You know what I mean? Because it's like, you do, like, the original Godzilla was not a good guy, and that's the fun thing about the Godzilla movies is sometimes you're in a mood where you want to watch Godzilla just fuck shit up, and we haven't gotten to see that out of the legendary Godzilla, and we're going to. But it makes me nervous because it's like, I still want them to be friends in the end, and I do want these movies to continue no matter what they are, but I think maybe Kong will continue and maybe Godzilla doesn't, but also like the early reviews for this movie are good, and the reviews for King of the Monsters, they weren't very good, and I love that movie too. So like, just like Jay said, it doesn't matter what happens. I'm I'm here for it.
Right.
Yeah.
But
That
it's first King of the
like
Monsters trailer was amazing too. That was
one of the best.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
we probably should have known it was going to be not well received by critics once we saw that good of a trailer.
Yeah.
Because it just, I mean, but I loved it. I mean, too much fan service. I don't think there's such a thing in the Godzilla world. And I don't know. I loved it. I loved the music was great. I love the creature designs. Finally, Rodan doesn't look terrible. I love that. And so like I liked it.
Yeah, that's a thing. Like, you know, we have 30 something movies of Godzilla, and Rodan is in a good, like, Rodan is one of the ones. He's in a lot of Godzilla movies, and he always looks stupid, and he's always like his role in the movie is always like he could have just not been there. But that's the cool thing about like the American Godzilla movies. You feel like some people say like, you know, the American movies don't really add anything, but they've made the best version of Rodan that we've
since 56, since the original Rodan, like
since the original
Rodan,
exactly.
Yeah, but you only see him for like a little bit. So
let me know before when you guys do the Peter Jackson King Kong review. I want to be part of that one because I you can make an argument that Peter Jackson's run from Fellowship of the Ring all the way through, like, that was every 2 years he put out an epic movie for, you know, an 8-year period, and then moved on to
Kong was right after was right after Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. Right after. Yeah, because Return of the King was 2003 and then Kong was 2005. So like pretty you know, I feel like you don't hear about Peter Jackson enough. Anyways, moving on. Abigail, what do you think?
What do I think about Peter Jackson?
No, what do you think about Kong vs. Godzilla? Godzilla vs. Kong.
I'm pumped. I'm a sucker for that trailer.
I'm a sucker because I just got a notification that says you paid $9.99 to Paramount Plus. Jesus.
What? Hey, let me get that password.
Yeah. I'm excited. A, because it'll be the first movie that I'm going to see in a movie theater. I think that it's appropriate to see that movie in a movie theater and to have the sound and the big scope of it. I'm not expecting anything like greatness or like real drama or
I am
like the best storytelling, but I'd like to see shit get fucked up, and I'm excited to see that.
Well, I think you're definitely going to see that.
Yeah.
Man, I guess the hard pitch, man. YHS on Monster Island, it's coming. You know, the feed will be up. Subscribe to the feed on iTunes and Spotify when you see it, and obviously here on YouTube. I'll give it to our hosts for final thoughts. Jay, what are you feeling right now? 51 minutes of time with YHS. Are you ready to call it quits yet?
No, I'm excited. I'm really pumped about the show, and I like that. You know, there's a ton of Godzilla and kaiju podcasts out there, very film centric, right? And a lot of them do a damn good job, and they can break down a film like nobody else. But I hope that what you'll see over time, and of course we always will evolve and stuff as need be, but I want to be able to touch all parts of the kaiju community and have discussions about film, yes, but everything else, and just, you know, what it is to be a kaiju fan here in 2021, and just various levels and aspects of the entire fandom, which I don't know if a lot of podcasts are out there doing it. They just want to talk to you about a specific film. And like I said, there's good ones out there, but I hope we do that. That's our goal. That's our aim. And I just hope you guys enjoy it and maybe learn a little something. And I know you guys will probably teach us a lot too.
Jake, final thought?
Yeah, no, what Jay said. And listen, like, you know, I'm in my 30s and I feel like everything that I've done in my life has just kind of been a stepping stone to putting myself on the internet talking about Godzilla, because it's maybe the one thing that like I've spent the most time on, whether that's a good thing or a sad thing. We will find a little bit of both, but that's just what I've always been, you know, into, and that's what I've done. And I think, you know, finding Jay and finding a like mind here, I think I'm just excited to do this.
Well, I'm excited for you guys, and I'm really excited that we're expanding the YHS. We don't know what it's called yet. We've narrowed it down to like 6 names.
We have a list. There's a list of names.
But there will be some sort of announcement soon about what we're going to call this network of YHS content.
Sewer system. I'm just going to try.
Abby's pitching the YHS sewer
pipeline.
System. But I'm excited for you guys, and I think since this is your preview episode, Jake, sign us off.
How do I even do that? You know what's funny is like I've been doing a podcast for 5 years and I have no idea how to do that. Listen, thanks for listening. Thanks for your continued support on YHS on Monster Island, and for Craig Goldberg, Abigail Gardner, and Jay Key. Buy a fucking Godzilla toy.
There you go.
Go to Seatopia.
I like that. Very good.
Little kaiju on the side.
All right.
Okay. I'm sorry. I liked it.
That was amazing. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. I'm excited. Congratulations, guys. We'll see you soon.
Yeah, I'm pumped for y'all.
Bye, guys.
Yay.